What's up everyone? Last night we saw the premiere of the 41st season of the challenge. The theme is vets and new threats, but who stood out? Who didn't? Let's analyse the game and make some predictions as we go forward, so welcome to your challenge breakdown. Now, before we get started, I want to make it clear that I am not a usual viewer of the challenge. I decided to tune in last night. Of course, a lot of you guys will know me from my coverage for Big Brother, but I decided I wanted to watch the challenge last night, and honestly, I was absolutely blown away by the amount of competitiveness and determination that these contestants had. I actually came away from the show wishing that Big Brother and Survivor players even had half of that. So I was very, very impressed. But yes, the show did not waste any time in getting into the first challenge. Each vet is paired with a new threat. And the challenge initially was that a helicopter was going to come overhead into a gigantic crater, like a big mud pit, and they would drop a ton of balls down, and each of these balls had a different colour. Some of them were red, some of them were blue, some of them were gold, and each of these colours corresponded a certain amount of points, with gold being the most. These contestants would then have to jump into the pit, grab as many balls as they can and bring them back up. It was a grueling challenge. You know, I sit and watch New Era Survivor sometimes, and I watch Jeff Probst talk about how hard the game is. That's what he makes it sound like. Those challenges there on the challenge, that's what Jeff Probst makes it sound like, but that's the real deal on the challenge. I was blown away by actually how difficult these things are. They were struggling to get uphill and get these balls back to their pit, but one team did stand out for me, just as somebody who was a new viewer of the show. Johnny Bananas and Dee, I thought, were completely badass. The pair that would come in first place would be safe from the first elimination, and they would also have the power to pick another pair to keep safe from elimination. On top of that, the players who would come in last place, the pair would face elimination. But there's a twist there, folks. TJ announced a brand new twist where if you flip a coin and each side corresponds a gender, male, female, and whichever side it lands on decides on which gender actually faces elimination first. So while the pair would actually go into the brawl together, only one of them would actually be eliminated, as only one of them would face off, and that would be one of the genders. Something else to note was that the top 8 pairs would also get special points going forward that would carry forward into the season. While we don't know what these points are going to do yet, it's very likely going to be important in the coming weeks. Before we get to the points and the standings, I just want to make some personal notes on, like I said, I haven't really watched a lot of the challenge before, but I put just some of my personal thoughts down on what I thought of some of these folk, just to let you guys know where I am with my head in some of these new contestants that I've never seen before. But I really, really liked Anissa. I understand that she has played a lot. I like her vibe. I like how she was coaching Leo about... these are all the questions that production's going to ask you. First of all, they're going to say, what do you think of the challenge? How do you think of your competitors? How far do you think you can get in the game? What's going to be your strategy? And then she turns around and goes, oh yeah, I'm just coaching Leo just when you guys decide to give me a job on the other side of the camera. I love that. That was so much fun. CT, he's one I had to talk about as well. This guy seems like a charmer, but also a firecracker. I saw in a couple of the previews he was screaming. I understand also he is a challenge legend, but definitely a personality that stood out to me. When we were first introduced to Justin, I thought, who ordered Benson Boone on Temu? I was expecting him to talk about these beautiful things, or something was mystical, or something was magical. But he's a sweet guy. He's a very sweet guy, as we saw as the episode went on. But yes, that was my first impression of Justin. Something I also took note as y'all can probably tell, I'm from the UK. A UK alliance? Okay, you've piqued my interest. A lot of talk about a UK alliance. I was very, very interested in that. I feel like it's not the first time that kind of thing's been done, because I was texting my friend last night while I was watching the challenge, and he told me that, because he's, you know, an avid watcher of the challenge, and he was telling me that a UK alliance has been done so many times and failed so many times. So I'm fascinated, but the initial concept of a UK alliance, of course I was fully on board. Now, while Olivia is American, she of course has a boyfriend in the form of Theo. Theo is from the UK, so she is definitely almost the godmother of the UK alliance. She wants to look out for all the folks from Britain. Hell yeah. Hell yeah is an American phrase though, isn't it? Good golly, I don't know. I can't think of a UK phrase to say. Godspeed, save the Queen. But I was taken by that initially. If anybody has watched my Big Brother coverage over the years, you will know that I was a big fan of America on season 25, so it was great to see her back. Her being dragged across the pit by Turbo was absolutely hilarious. But while we're on the Big Brother note, Cedric from season 26 is also there. What a sweet guy. You know, I remember talking about him last year when I was doing my live feed updates, and he didn't really bring a lot on a game level, on a strategic level, but my God, is he the sweetest guy ever. What a nice kid. I really, really, really like Cedric a lot. Big fan of him, and I want to see him do well. He also seems like he has acknowledged the fact that he didn't do very well in Big Brother, having placed in the pre-jury, and he's determined to make a name for himself now, and good luck to him, because I am really rooting for Cedric hard. What a nice guy. Now we have our first injury and medical incident after the challenge. Adrienne was actually taken into an ambulance. She found, when she was getting out of the pit, she basically found a cut on her foot. You remember when she was climbing out, she said, "Oh no, I felt a slice there." And she had a big cut right down the sole of her foot. So she was taken into the ambulance to get stitches. Okay, let's talk about the placement points and who's got points going forwards. Of course, while it might seem like 1 point isn't a lot in 8th place, it's one more point than the rest of the teams who didn't even place in the top 8. In 8th place with 1 point, it's Justin and Naya. In 7th with 2 points, it's Leroy and Sydney. In 6th place with 3 points, it's Gabe and Ashley. In 5th place with 4 points, it's Will and Michaela. In 4th place with 5 points, we have Cedric and Olivia. Taking the bronze medal is Theo and Izzy with 6 points. Coming up with the silver with 7 points, it's Jeremy and Aviv. And then the winners of the first challenge of the season was with 8 points, Johnny Bananas and D. A massive congratulations to Johnny Bananas and D. I knew they were badass from the moment I saw them, and for them to win the challenge, it was kind of not a surprise to me, but of course they won and they are safe from the first elimination. With TJ's coin flip, it was decided that the men would face elimination first, but who was the man in the pair that came last place? The pair that came last place was Adrienne and Rogan, so Rogan would face elimination first. Back at the house now, and we got to see the players game for the first time this season, and again, being a new viewer of the challenge, I was impressed by how hard these people game and how quickly. I spend a lot of time watching Big Brother, and sometimes it's very disappointing watching people just kind of walk around the house and mope all week without actually doing anything to save their fate. But Johnny Bananas and Derek immediately, in a segment discussing who they wanted to target, they threw out Justin as the idea, and also they had already clocked on to the British alliance. Johnny Bananas definitely targeting a Brit or wanting to put a dent in that alliance, because we all know in these kind of shows, if you've got a big block alliance and you leave it till too late, you're all going to get picked off one by one, and there's nothing you can do about it. So already I'm seeing Johnny Bananas and I'm thinking, this guy knows how to game. And from what I remember as well, I believe he was on House of Villains, and I remember liking him on that as well. He's hardcore. He's hardcore, and I can see why people view him as a legend. But yeah, he was talking to Derek about either targeting Justin or one of the British guys. And not only that, but he clocked Olivia as the head of the British Alliance. It was now time for the players to hit the club, and the gaming started hard. Once the booze started flowing, so did the strategy talk and who people were going to be targeting. And very, very quickly, the talk about the Brits was circulating around the club, about taking out one of the British people out the game. Rogan, of course, at risk, was doing the rounds in the club, going round to people one by one, trying to save face. But to be honest, it wasn't really working. We got a glimpse at Ben, who is a new threat, and he was discussing the fact that he thinks he and Justin will be the early targets as new threats, and obviously they believe they are physically weaker players, so he was gaming to make sure that it wasn't going to be him, and not necessarily putting it onto Justin, but I liked his mentality of the fact that, okay, I'm not going to let it be me, and if it happens to be Justin, then it happens to be Justin. Naya, Justin's partner, eventually caught wind of the gaming and the fact that Justin's name had been thrown out, and then she started to panic and also started to game a little bit more. We saw a confessional with Olivia where she discussed that she thinks Johnny Bananas is a ticking time bomb that's coming for her, so she doesn't want to waste time in targeting him. She wants to combat him as soon as possible. We've seen these mistakes so many times in these social games where people go, I'm going to lay low for the first few weeks and I'll target them on week 4. Bam, you're gone on week 1. You don't have time, and I like the fact that Olivia was very proactive in her approach in trying to target Johnny Bananas. Now, Johnny Bananas and Theo did get into it when Theo approached Bananas about his girlfriend, Olivia. He said, "What are you doing? Why are you targeting her? Well, I don't get it, bro." And then Bananas turns around and goes, "Don't try to gaslight me. I'm not one of your girlfriends." I'm sorry, but that made me laugh. I assume Theo's got a bad rep from Love Island, is my guess from that comment. But yeah, Bananas stood his ground there and said, "She's coming for me, so of course I'm coming for her." In a very tender moment after the club, Derek consoled Justin, who was very, very worried about the vote. Derek is a vet, so he has been in this situation before, and he said exactly that to Justin. He said, "Look, I've been where you've been, where people didn't really give me a chance in my early seasons, but I have turned into a threat over time, and I've been able to come back from that and bounce back." Not only that, they both bonded over the fact that they were the gay guys there, and Derek kind of said he wanted to be a big brother to him, and especially look out for him because of both of them being gay. It was something that hit home for them both, and he saw a lot of Justin in him, so he really bonded with him over that. A very tender and sweet exchange that would definitely play out later in the episode in a very ugly decision. As the gaming picked up, momentum started to go against Olivia and the UK alliance. Ashley even brought up to Johnny Bananas the idea of keeping one of the UK couples safe, or UK pairs safe, so then they could take a vote away from them when they would vote somebody into the elimination. Strategy. That way they can then target Jake and Cara Maria, with Jake being the target, of course. So when the vote came around, Johnny Bananas and Dee decided to save Theo and Izzy. This was very intentional, as of course Theo is Olivia's boyfriend. He is also from the UK. It was basically a strategic move to take their votes away so that they could then vote another British person into the brawl with Rogan, so then it would ensure that a British person goes home. But their plan backfired. TJ turned around and said, "The people that you saved will still get a vote." Now, a shock moment in the vote was when Derek turned around and voted Justin into elimination. Saw a lot of uproar about that one online, and myself, I was also kind of shocked. This guy bonded with him over being gay, which is of course a very delicate thing for the LGBTQ plus community, and as a result, talking about that is it's a very vulnerable thing. It's not something that you talk to anybody about, because it's something that a lot of people don't feel very comfortable talking about. Myself, I'm bisexual. I don't talk about it a hell of a lot, but when I do go into depth with it, it's always with people that I trust and that I feel have my back. And for him to open his heart up to Derek like that, and then Derek just to throw him under the bus, I think a lot of people were looking at Derek like he was kind of a turd after that. Jake ended up with 6 votes and Justin ended up with 8. So Johnny Bananas' plan had been scuppered, with a British person not being voted in to the elimination. It all came down to the elimination, and it was Rogan versus Justin. Rogan, of course, being part of the British Alliance. Johnny Bananas, still from the sidelines, was trying to cheer on Justin to get him out. And something that blew me away about the elimination was I was really impressed how people actually showed their sides. In Big Brother, everyone kind of, they're all very polite and they all clap and pretend that they like you and kiss your ass. Nah, these guys aren't messing around. If they want you out, they're going to cheer for the other person. And I kind of love that. It's, to me, Big Brother's passive-aggressive, where this one is just aggressive. And wouldn't you rather know where you stand with people than them kissing your ass the whole time? That's kind of why I preferred this. But yes, it was Justin versus Rogan in the brawl. They had to enter basically human hamster wheels, and there was like roller coaster hills that they would have to maneuver the hamster wheel over. And the first person to get to the end of the arena and back in their hamster wheel would remain safe, and the other person would be eliminated. It was a very intense elimination, with it being neck and neck almost the entire time, and you would also think that with Rogan being the bigger guy that he could get more momentum going, but he got very tired out very, very quickly, and Justin's cheerleader abilities actually allowed him to make it there and back faster than Rogan, and Rogan was the first eliminee of the Challenge 41. With Rogan being eliminated, his partner Adrienne was left in the game by herself, and TJ announced that she is now a hangnail. She would have to make friends if she wants to stay in the game. So this is definitely going to come down to a social level for Adrienne and seeing how she can maneuver over the next few weeks. But it was also teased at the fact that the pairs are going to be switched up already. People will be facing new pairs probably next week, I would imagine, just from what TJ said, and it was a firecracker start to what is going to be a firecracker season. That is all of your challenge breakdown for today, folks. I thoroughly hope you all enjoyed watching. Vets and New Threats looks to be a very promising season. I really did enjoy tuning into that premiere. I thought for years I've wanted to really get into the challenge, but I've never really stuck my head in at the deep end, and I thought, you know what, let's do it this season. So here we are, folks, with the Challenge 41. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing some hardcore gaming. Very excited to see what these players bring. I like the cast a lot. It's making me want to go back and watch some of those older seasons because I want to know what the deal is with, you know, CT and Bananas and Anissa and Turbo, all these big personalities that seem to be so legendary in Challenge lore. I'm sure you guys can tell me a bit more about them in the comments just so I know a little bit more, but I really do want to go back and check those out. But like I said, folks, that's all your challenge breakdown for today. I hope that you're all staying safe, staying positive and staying healthy out there, and remember to be kind to one another. But in the meantime, please don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all of that wonderful stuff. But until your next challenge breakdown, I've been your host, Tom VASEY. Good night.